Wow, that's cool.
It's this process called dynamation. Now, dynamation is a separate process to stop motion. It's being re-exposed.
Yeah.
It's being re-exposed.
Yeah, but I don't even think I would have focused on it. I still don't think I would have.
What the?
See, that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't know how they did that.
Hello, and welcome back to Cinema Rules. This is our new show, How to Hollywood, where we react to and watch what we think are the most impressive scenes in cinema history.
The point of How to Hollywood is to dive deep into how some of your favorite movies or movie moments are made, whether that is practical effects, visual effects, camera technique, cinematography. We look at all of those elements in this series and we go behind the scenes to show you exactly how they were crafted.
We've seen everything already from the silent era to with The Wizard of Oz to Lord of the Rings to Evil Dead. No film is safe.
So today we have got a couple of bangers this episode. I personally, Tom, I'm going to show you the history of stop motion and the legend himself, Ray Harryhausen, and his invention of dynamation.
Okay, interesting. Well, in my segment, Shaun, we're going to look at how they made a man fly in 1978's Superman, directed by Richard Donner.
Okay. Jam-packed episode. Some great bits. Make sure you like, subscribe if you like this content and want to see more.
And join us on Patreon if you want to watch the full-length version of How to Hollywood Episode 5.
If you're watching this video on the toilet right now, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into the first clip. So today, Tom, we've got a clip from a very, very old school film called The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. A lot of the audience might know this film, a lot of them might not, but this is the first film to ever use the method of dynamation, which was created by Ray Harryhausen.
The first film?
The first ever film.
So it's not a guy in a suit?
No, it's not a guy in a suit.
But also, I'm just going to see if there's going to be people in frame as well there.
Well, there was initially in the first scene that you saw. And obviously there's cars there as well. The reason for the choppy editing is because it's just the moments with the monster only. This is like a compilation.
See, that's great, isn't it? That's great.
Then you see you got the people there.
I'm just thinking about how they filmed, not the stop motion itself, but the imposition of it onto this scene of people running and screaming.
There you go, you got that. That's a great shot, that.
Wow, that's cool. That is really cool. There are moments, aren't there, where it jitters slightly and there's cuts.
Well, that cut like that is simply because it's a compilation.
I fail to believe they would not be running with more
haste.
That was good though as well.
Okay, so
do you know what I love about this? Like the practical sets design and the destructive nature of the sets as well, how they're coming down.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting. I'm ashamed to say I don't know a lot about stop motion, other than I assume it's very much frame by frame slight movements of the creature in miniature.
Yeah.
And then it's somehow imposed on this background.
Well, it's okay that you don't know, Tom, because that's why we do the show. So essentially, it's this process called dynamation. Now, dynamation is a separate process to stop motion. So stop motion is the process of maneuvering a figure or a creature frame by frame in order to reenact movement or motion within a character. Dynamation is the process of combining both live action with stop motion.
I see. So instead of like Chicken Run, where it's just stop motion, probably mixed with animation as well. Someone's going to tell us in the comments.
Yeah.
But you're mixing it with the live action.
Yes, exactly. Dynamism. It's actually funny how Ray Harryhausen came up with the name. I think he just looked outside his window and he saw a van with the word Dyna on it, and he was like, "Animation? Dyna? Dyna's I think Dyna means power or something like that."
So it's dynamation, not dynamism.
No, it's dynamation.
Okay.
In terms of how this is done, it's a very interesting way. And it's a very hands-on approach. And as you can imagine, in the 50s, having this new process where they can superimpose creatures or pretty much whatever they want onto a live action scene. It's like the modern day, or it's the olden day CGI.
I've seen this before. I've never seen it on this scale, like with the size of the city and the people being smaller and so on. But
you say that the scale of this it was probably a lot simpler to do than the skeleton scene out of Jason and the Argonauts.
Jason and the Argonauts.
Yeah, but we'll get on to Jason and the Argonauts in a moment, so stay tuned for that.
This reminds me of, do you remember we watched Willow on the channel?
Yeah.
And there was that creature that came up out of the water. Industrial Light and Magic creator. It was a dragon with 2 heads.
Yeah.
Creature
That's
it. It reminds me of that.
Yeah.
But this even looks quite similar, very similar, considering that they're like probably 30 years apart, those films. This one looks really
I'm not too sure whether Willow used the same technique there, but probably didn't, because it was far more advanced. The process of how dynamation is actually filmed, what they would do is the bridge scene in the background is the projector projecting that live action footage on that. Then you have Ray Harryhausen putting his creature in the second layer. The third layer is a screen, and they paint out the dock in black matte paint. What this does is that it creates an illusion that the creature is emerging from something that's in front of it. Now, the reason why they use black matte paint is since the film only develops from the light that escapes through the eye of the camera, any portion that is blackened out remains undeveloped. So therefore, they're able to capture this creature emerging from something that is in front of it. And then they rewind the camera back to the start. They then remove the glass panel that had that blackened out bit. They reintroduce another glass panel, and they paint out the background. And then they redevelop, or they re-expose the foreground footage, and then they just combine the two. So as you can see, the crates have a blurred line around them,
don't they?
And that is due to the paint and the re-exposure of that film.
Yeah.
So in some cases, when you get dynamation, you'll see the background footage is actually grainier than the foreground. It's because the background has been exposed more times than the foreground. So you get a lesser quality, but in the 1950s, you don't recognize that slight quality difference. And that is how they essentially do dynamation. It's a manual process, but it's incredible.
It's a scientific manual process. It's an art, isn't it? Experimenting with film like this. And yet you're creating something that's like purely entertainment, aren't you?
Exactly.
For the audience. It baffles me how long it would have taken them to identify and find this process.
Exactly.
In order to achieve it and then to perfect it as well.
And what I love about it is the fact that, yes, you might show someone that is young, maybe in their 20s, these types of films now, and they'll say, oh, they look absolutely dog shit. But you have to really recognise the fact that these films were made in the 50s.
They're at the forefront of the cutting edge of experimentation with cinema, though. So without these films, you wouldn't have
Jurassic Park, King Kong.
You wouldn't have any monster films that we know and love today.
Exactly. And you can look back at these and look back on with nostalgia, or, they've got a character about them. They've got a personality. They've got a charm to the fact to these movies because of the way that they were crafted, because they, filmmakers were guessing, and you can do this today.
You said a minute ago about people today might say that, oh, it's terrible effects and so on. But actually, I think people will look at this and think, oh, it was easier for them to do than it actually was. It's such an arduous process. Yeah. And, people don't even work with film today for the most part, do they? So
the reason why this was so easy is because it was in black and white. When they transitioned into trying dynamation with color film, it was even more challenging because they had to source a specific type of film in order to have the colors
and matching the lighting as well.
Exactly.
Would be very difficult.
Yeah.
If you're watching this on the train right now, subscribe.
Ray's most famous films are The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad or Clash of the Titans. But I think most people's opinion is that his piece de resistance, his magnum opus, is Jason and the Argonauts.
Yeah. Imagine being a kid in the cinema.
Yeah.
When this comes out.
1963.
Yeah.
This movie came out.
Remember my dad saying he saw it at the cinema.
Now you can see he's purposely moving backwards into the background. No, just into the background to leave space.
Yeah, but he's also doing it because he's summoning skeletons, Sean.
Yes, he is.
And they're stepping back as well.
Now watch what happens to the background. The quality of the footage. It goes, doesn't it? Because it's being re-exposed.
Yeah.
It's being re-exposed.
Yeah, but I don't even think I would have focused on it. I still don't think I would have.
So
do you know what though? The colour and the lighting is slightly different, isn't it? It's not the lighting you would expect in broad daylight outside.
You know what?
Illuminating them.
I wouldn't.
Maybe is that because
like
we've
you
just
said,
spoken about it? Or?
Like you said, I wouldn't have noticed it. Just like you didn't notice the quality shift in the background footage is a little bit grainier. As you can see, though, you can actually see the tabletop. So if you look here, the tabletop stops here.
Yeah.
And then the footage, it goes beyond that line. They're projecting that footage on the background. You've got the tabletop there, and then you've got the skeletons coming out from the ground, and that's the stop motion. And then they're filming the background for a second time with the quality of the first time.
These actors to do this in a performance, it's quite similar to green screen in a way, isn't it? I mean, I know they're on a set with actual costumes and other people, but they still have to use their imaginations to do this performance. And then...
Well, just wait until they start fighting, Tom.
Go on.
It's crazy.
Let's have a look. Reminds me of Brendan Fraser's The Mummy when they come in. And I think that was obviously not a similar technique, but there was something about that technique, wasn't there?
Inspired. Homaged.
Oh, it's uncanny, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, these scenes, this choreography would have been meticulously planned and organized and practiced and then they're climbing up on top of what they were just on. Look how good that is. Like the individual fights, the contact on the shields.
The sound is good as well because sound is important. Whoa, the shield came away then.
And then going behind because that would have been masked out. And it really helps with the editing, doesn't it?
The fact that they're looking at him as well.
It's the decapitation in a minute.
It's the
woo, so good.
It's the way they managed to get character into the movements. Though.
Yeah, and the way he stabbed him with the sword, but the sword stayed in him.
Oh,
it's great. The fact that the blade looks like it's actually penetrating his body is simply just brushing the sword on the glass bit when you've got your camera framed up, seeing where the position of the man is, lining up your animation to then stab him, and then just painting out for a couple of frames on the glass piece to make it look like it's going into something.
Because I could understand when they were fighting on the kind of ridge bit and fighting people down below, because you can still employ that technique there of the where you say there was the table in front and then...
It's a testament to like how much hard work goes into something.
This must have taken months and months and months of pre-preparation and planning as well.
The realistic implementation of certain things. You can even see the shadows of the skeletons on what the men are standing on. And that's because Ray Harryhausen just recreated what they was stood on, put that as a miniature on the tabletop, and then as you can see, their feet are slightly behind.
Yeah.
It's because he's just raised it a little bit so that they look like they're standing on that physical element, and therefore the skeletons are within the scene. They're incorporated within that world. They feel real because the shadows are casted on something physical.
It's almost mind-boggling how much human effort and work goes into these, or has gone into this scene. I actually think it's just revolutionary. Yeah. I know that first clip we looked at was kind of the foundation of it, but this one here, like, you use magnum opus, and it is the perfect kind of words to describe it, I think.
Exactly. There are 7 skeletons, and each skeleton has 5 movable parts. So there is 35 moves for 1 frame of film. That's not 1 second, because 24 frames is 1 second. So for 1 second of film, there is 840 moves that Ray Harryhausen has to do on his own because he needs to track each and every skeleton and their movements. So for 5 seconds of film, that's 4,200 moves that he needs to do. It took Ray over 4 months to do this one sequence.
Yeah.
And in some cases, he stated that he could only do 13 frames of film within an 8-hour day. That is less than a foot of film.
Yeah.
That much film. The men here, the actors, actually were practicing with real people, and they would get their motion and actions down to a T, and then those actors that they were acting with would then be removed, and they would do the exact moments with nothing.
So fully choreographed, but then they strip the other actors away, and
Exactly. So if you didn't know, Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park was also going to be stop motion. But if you check out our Patreon page, link in the description below, you'll discover exactly the reasons why they moved to CGI.
And there's a nice little comparison between the both.
Yes. But it is quite sad because obviously in the 90s, dynamation in particular started to fall away. And one of the things that I wanted to speak about is Jurassic Park.
If you're watching this because you've disappeared down some random void of a YouTube rabbit hole, and this is your first time with us, come a little subscribe. Richard Donner, great director. And we're going to watch a scene now, a romantic scene. A great scene, a cinematic scene from Superman 1978. One of the hardest things, how the hell do you make a realistic flying Superman?
Yeah, okay.
The tagline of this film was, "You will believe a man can fly."
Like Peter Pan. Oh, okay. I think I have an idea at the moment.
So quite a few close-ups at the moment, but not always like that.
Wow. Are they the Twin Towers as well?
Yeah.
Wow.
So they're in New York.
Yeah.
Keep having a look at these wide shots as well, these longer shots, because
and
they're
then
quite impactful. They turn
as well.
They turn. You're right, it's the turns that I think are quite effective.
Yeah.
And obviously these shots, they're quite small, aren't they? But the kind of POV shots, they really add to it, don't they?
Yeah, the POV shots and the footage intercutting with just the landscape footage on its own without the characters in it, it helps sell the effect, doesn't it? And then you got clouds. Whoa. What the?
See, that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't know how they did that. This is when Superman just turns out to be a crazy person who takes her into space. Why does she look like Courtney Cox there?
Yeah, it is in New York.
That's not how physics works.
See, this is the one bit I always had the problem with. She wouldn't be like that.
She would be hanging. She would be like hanging down.
That's the bit I always had the problem with.
I think we've picked a very similar technique without realising it.
I think we have as well, yeah. We kind of done that before, haven't we? But I think this time we have.
So, like mine, I think it's rear projection, which is projecting already filmed footage onto a screen behind them, and then they are potentially just on wires in front of it.
So, you're wrong, Shaun.
What?
You're wrong. This isn't rear projection, it's front projection, which is a very different technique. So the dynamation similar.
So dynamation was rear projection.
Yeah, similar. So rear projection there. So it is quite similar, and I'll explain it in a minute. But they went through so many different ideas and experiments in trying to get the perfect flying kind of shots. They went from kind of radio controlled models to actually firing models out of air cannons. What? They tried to use wires with stuntmen as well. And yes, small minute section of the time they are kind of on wires, especially for the takeoffs and landings that Superman normally typically does. Mm-hmm. But actually, for the most part, in the horizontal flying scenes that you see them in, where they're kind of lying flat, they use fiberglass molds that are molded to their bodies.
Yeah.
that they're lying flat on the whole time.
see.
And the main technique is front projection. Now, I'm going to draw you a nice little example now of what front projection is, and hopefully we can get an image on our...
Let me record this
our
whilst
screen.
you're drawing it, because this is going to be funny.
This is going to be absolutely terrible.
And look, just watch the way Tom holds a pen.
Yes, I can't hold a pen. You're right, there is a projection screen here. Oh my God, my pen's not working. So, this is made of something called stock light tape, which essentially is like little beads of almost like glass that reflect hundreds of times the light that's projected onto it. So it's really fantastic in projecting an image. And the actor is in front of that. Obviously, they're going to be in front of this in their hydraulic kind of well, it's put onto a hydraulic rig, but on their fiberglass mold, so they can lie horizontally. You have a projector here that's projecting the images of the city or the images of where they're flying past onto a mirror at a, I believe, 45-degree angle, which then reflects it onto this stock-like screen here. This way, you have the actual camera filming through this two-way mirror and capturing the actor in front of the stock-light projection screen there. Now, allegedly, why they do this is because I think you can have much better interaction between the actual actor and the footage. The lighting is better as well.
I was going to say, because if you just projected the footage straight onto the screen with the actor already in front of it, you'd get the projection on the actor's face.
You would, but the way that the mirror works is that you're avoiding the projection onto the actor in terms of how we've seen it before. In, I think it was the Great Train Robbery, you saw the projection on the background, didn't we? But in doing this, the camera and the mirror is actually all put together in one rig when it's developed later on. They begin to develop it. So the actor never necessarily moves. It's the camera that's doing the movement. So although it looks like they're turning in the air like this, it's actually the rig and the setup that is doing a lot of the work and movement sometimes.
I see.
So you don't have to move the actual screen and the footage on it.
I see.
Now, they did try and develop a technique in this film where, because they were filming at 20 frames per second, they tried to vibrate really thin piano wire in order to make it invisible.
Really?
And they did achieve it in some shots, but they had to abandon it because one of the stuntmen fell when a wire snapped onto the set below. Didn't die or anything, but this shot is a really famous one that you can see here. And they developed a timed zoom, so the camera would zoom in as the projection would, but the actor would stay the same, but it would give the impression of going really fast directly towards the camera, which I think was really good in getting the speed of the flying. Now, of course, as well, one of the problems when you're having the shots of them flying along on the fiberglass is that the cape wouldn't move. But that's really simply solved just either through fans or through radio controlled wires within that would move at different times. Another problem they had is that they did use blue screen when Superman was doing these distance flying shots. And because he has a blue suit, it would be creating a real problem where you couldn't visibly see Superman's suit. So they actually made multiple suits in a turquoise green kind of colour. And you can actually tell sometimes in the film it appears slightly brighter than perhaps his normal costume would. That was how they developed all this technique, using front projection. And all of these amazing technological kind of camera rigs and hydraulic fiberglass models and so on.
The theme of today's episode is definitely rear and front projection. But also the fact that, these old movies, despite not aging well today, still have a sense of character and charm to them, and I think people pay homage to and see it as inspiration because of how they pioneered.
I think people have been deeply affected by these films, and they're all about technological advancement, aren't they? Experimentation to achieve that movie magic that
and a challenge
engrosses us into films.
Challenge and restraints in order to propel creativity and to solve a problem on the screen, and it creates some of, you know, the most iconic moments. Jason and the Argonauts, you know, Superman, some of the most Jurassic Park, some of the most iconic moments in movie history. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you leave a like and a subscribe, and comment down below what other filming techniques or movie scenes that you want us to pick apart and analyze and go behind the scenes and tell you exactly how they were made. And if you already know how they were made, you know, still leave a comment, because we want to know how they were made. Because not only are we showing you guys how these behind the scenes and how these scenes are crafted, but we're also learning ourselves. And this is one of the reasons why we started the channel. We wanted to learn about movies.
Likewise, if you've got any scenes that you think are fantastic, that you think everybody should know about how they're filmed, then let us know as well.
Yeah. But without further ado, we'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.